What is the strangest thing that happened to you that you can't logically explain? When I was in college, a drunk dude fell from a 3rd floor balcony and got up and walked away like it was nothing. Seriously, one of the weirdest freakish things I've ever seen in my life. It's getting late, guys. Oh, this is my floor. Jumps. I had recently watched an early episode of Criminal Minds where an arsonist would lock people in their homes before lighting the house on fire. For whatever reason it kinda got to me. A night or two later I woke up out of a dead sleep and couldn't get that episode out of my mind, so I finally decided to just get up and check the front door. I swear I could not open the door, unlocked it, but it was totally stuck. I woke up my husband because I was so freaked out. He also tried and couldn't get the door open, and he's a big guy. I ended up climbing out a window so I could push the door from the outside while he pulled from the inside. We finally got it open. I didn't watch Criminal Minds for a long time after that. Had a dream that I got a phone call saying my brother that I haven't seen in 10 years had died. 2 days later I got a call that he actually had died. My dad claims to have had this twice. Not a call, but he was actually visited by the deceased in a dream. They were always happy in the dream. Then he would learn of their non-illness related sudden death after waking up. I hit a patch of black ice in the dark going 60 miles per hour down the highway. At the time, I drove a 1-ton cargo van. It hit the guardrail and flipped. Not only did I walk away without a scratch, the car was drivable and I was only 30 minutes late to work. I'm a firefighter and we got a call for an overdose around 3 AM to a rough part of our district in the middle of winter. Unfortunately the patient was long gone and her dealer or whatever found her like that when he dropped some stuff. As we were packing up our stuff, mind you this is our absolutely trashed mobile home, I hear something down the hall that said lights. I asked my partner if he said anything as it was just him and I cleaning up. He said no. I walked to the far end of the trailer where I heard it and shine my flashlight. I get a reflection out of the window. They have a small tool shed and it had a flickering light. It piqued my interest so my partner and I go out there. We hear crying and notice the door is padlocked. We cut it and this little 6-year-old girl was in there. She said her mom puts her in there when she gets mad at her. She said she got scared when she heard the sirens and didn't know what to do. To this day I have no idea what happened or where the voice came from, but I'll take the win on it. I used to fence, the sport, not stolen goods. I was at a tournament and had just started a bout against a competitor. You win the bout by being the first to 5 points. I score what I believe to be first point, but the official indicates the match is over and I've won. I stood there confused for a second, but my opponent seems to agree and salutes and approaches for a handshake, so I go along with it. I check the scorecard and it says I've won 5-2. Totally lost probably 4 or 5 minutes of time. Hasn't happened since to the best of my knowledge, but it's been 20 years and I still wonder what happened. Both of my lungs collapsed at the same time, almost over 50% collapsed, and I was walking around like I was perfectly normal, until I decided to go to the ER for bubble sounds in my chest. None of the doctors could figure out why this had happened to me. They didn't know how. I was just up and walking around and laughing. Time slipped by my friend and I one day. We got a contract in another town and drove out daily for 2 weeks. It was 1 hour to get there and 1 hour back, but one day it took us 3 hours to get back to town. My friend realized something was wrong when his wife called him up asking why he turned his phone off and why he was so late. We left a little before 2 PM and the call came almost at 5 PM. To this day we can't explain it. And to further complicate matters, we both have receipts from a gas station we stopped at just before we got on the highway that are time-stamped a bit after 2 PM. My theory is that the aliens took us for 2 hours, but who the hell knows. I had that happen once. I worked at a coffee shop and lived a few blocks away, so I normally just walk to work. Takes no more than 10-15 minutes tops and I like to get there early so I can chill and have a coffee before my shift starts, so I left home 45 minutes early. Looked at the clock before heading out and it was 2 o'clock. Walked in the door to my manager asking me why the hell I was late. Looked at the clock and it was 3 o'clock. There's no way it's even humanly possible to turn a 10 minutes, 5-block walk into an hour. Like, I have no idea. I even checked my clocks at home after work. None were off or broken, and it never happened again. I was driving across the US and drove into Salt Lake City. For whatever reason, I got a craving for IHOP, so I punched it into Google Maps and followed the directions to a spot in the middle of town. I walk in, and the place is empty. I don't mean like there were no customers. I mean there is literally not a person in the place. No wait staff, no customers, no cooks, nobody. There was partially eaten food on all the tables, bags and purses in the booths, TVs on everywhere, burgers on the grill slowly burning, and there wasn't a soul in the place, like they all just vanished at once. I was so freaked out I hopped in my car and drove until I hit the Nevada border before stopping to eat. Still have no idea what the F happened. I was just a 6-year-old kid deciding what to do after school while I was in my grandparents' living room. I saw a red flash shoot out of the wall and go from that side to the other wall and into it. A second later a big earthquake hit. I saw some sort of visual shock wave from the earthquake. And no, it wasn't those weird lightning ball things. In my childish mind I thought that I just saw the Flash, the comic book character, run through the room. Another cool one that is explained by sheer unbelievable coincidence is that I phoned a friend so I hadn't spoken to in at least 3 years and it went to voicemail. After I left a voicemail I saw I had a voicemail notification. It was a voicemail from the person who I just called. The weirdest part is that we must have called each other at exactly the same moment, otherwise it would have done the call waiting thing instead of sending to voicemail. We immediately called each other back and tripped out about how weird that was. I once shut my ear in a car door. No idea how. Have tried to recreate it and can't. But my god, that hurt. You deserve something for this. So this still baffles me, but when I was a kid we had moved into a new house and while the realtor was showing us around the house I saw a lady sitting at a white dresser in a pink room and she even waved at me, but when I asked my mom who that was she just brushed me off because she was trying to listen to the realtor. The weird thing is that there were no rooms painted pink in the house and my family just played it off despite me being adamant of what I saw. Anyway, fast forward a few years and I'm in high school at this point and we start renovating the house, and while stripping the wallpaper in the master bedroom we found out it was painted pink at some point. Still low-key freaks me out. So, one night I had a dream that I was working out in the gym that I regularly go to. In the dream, I was in the normal spot where I work out, exercising, when all of a sudden, the lights in the gym go out, all the TV screens go off, can't see anything but, in the dream, it feels like some sort of smoke is filling up the gym and I can hear and barely see people panicking, running to the exit. Feels like maybe it's a terrorist attack. I start running, trying to get to the exit, and it's getting harder and harder to breathe. Just as I'm kind of hyperventilating and succumbing to the toxic smoke, I jolt awake. Very intense dream that stuck with me. A week later, in real, actual life, I'm working out in my gym, and boom, the lights and TV screens go out. It was this incredibly surreal moment where I actually thought I was dreaming again. I stood there stunned for a moment before realizing that the power just went out due to a thunderstorm. It came back on about 5 minutes later. I told a gym employee nearby that I dreamt about this. She laughed politely and probably thought I was insane. Really strange. When I was younger, in elementary school, I used to have the same dream every weekend starting on Saturday, when I would go to sleep, and then waking up in the middle of the night, on Sunday, and throwing up. The dream was always a bunch of numbers. Not even anything happening, just a bunch of random jumbled up numbers all over the place. I never understood why that happened, where the same dream would happen on the same night every week and I would throw up every single time. I always think about it and wonder what it was or if it was just some weird coincidence. Also, I would not have any signs of being sick before or after. Maybe someone else has experienced this. My dad owned a small garden shop, so I'd stay behind the checkout after school till the shop closed. This was until I see a tall man wearing all black, like a trench coat, walking past my dad and smiling at me before going into a staff-only area. I jump up to stop him. Even though I was 7, this back area filled with new shipments. I turned the corner but nobody is there. There was nowhere he could have gone. I ask my dad to check the CCTV after closing, but it's only shown me jumping up and running out of frame. Weird stuff. Never felt comfortable there again. Best I got is having some obscure song in my head and turning on the radio and that song is playing. Or discussing an old movie with a friend and coming home scrolling through the TV at 3 AM and you see that very same movie is playing. Just like that really. Driving with the hubby and I see a bunch of bikers having a cookout. Out of the blue and I don't know why I said this. People look down on bikers but I bet if the house across the street catches fire this men would run into it to save the little old lady and I pointed to the house. That was the first time I've ever driven down that street. We just moved to the neighborhood. My husband and weren't even talking, just listening to music. That night at 2 AM that house that I pointed to burned down and an elderly woman died. I have a vivid memory of being at the Statue of Liberty as a child, on my dad's shoulders, seeing the skyline of Nick. I remember what we ate for lunch that day, etc. I remember the ferry we took. I've always thought about this memory and talked about it, but my family denies I ever went to Nick. I didn't go for the first time until I was 23, but strangely enough, when I went, I remembered everything just how it had been when I was there with my dad. This happened a couple days ago, and I'm really hoping someone can tell me there is a perfectly logical reason for it to have happened. I got a second monitor since class is all online now. I was moving my floor lamp when the cement fell out of the bottom. Weird, but okay. I got that lamp from my aunt. I then grab another floor lamp from my guest room that I've had since like 2007, and as soon as I step through the threshold to my room, that floor lamp's bottom dropped out. Crazy. I ask my so to borrow one of his he isn't using. Guess what happened when we got to my place with it? Yup, that's right. Bottom fell out. This is gonna be the most boring story on this thread. I can feel it. When I was in primary school, like year 1-2, in the cafeteria there was all these cups filled with milk every lunch. Red, green, blue, but only one yellow cup. Everyone would fight to get the yellow cup like it was the holy grail, and it had been this way for years. One night I had a dream that the cafeteria had gotten more yellow cups in. And lo and behold, the next day, hundreds of yellow cups. So when I was a kid, I slept with my bedroom door open because my cat liked to cuddle me. Our hallway was just around the hallway, and I could see the bathroom door and my parents' bedroom door. Though it was dark, it was in view. I also slept with my lights only dimmed. One night, I can't sleep for some reason. I for some reason call out for my mom, and I see her standing near my doorway, kind of turned away from me with her hand on her face and her hair draping. I know it's her because she slept in a big purple t-shirt that night, but she's completely still. Static, mind you. I'm wide freaking awake. I might have been watching TV before this. 3 AM Disney Channel. Probably. When I call out to her, she doesn't move at all. Blink, she's gone. I start freaking out and calling out to her for real, and that's when I hear their door open and close and my mom rushes to my aid. I think she either slept with me all night or I stayed up all night watching TV to pacify myself. I started sleeping with my door closed out of that, and I don't look too carefully in darkness.